Hello again. John Peterson with you on John's Media World Extra. And we've got a lot of things to talk about today. Let's start off with data centers. We've been talking about data centers ad nauseum here for quite a few weeks. These data centers are being built all over the country. And there are a lot of promises made with these data centers that they won't make noise, they won't do this, that, and the other thing, use a lot of water. We're finding out that a lot of this is not true. One data center is warming the area it's located in by at least 16 degrees. I don't know how that will affect the environment in those communities, but we'll see. Now, let's get to something here. This is a local individual. He broadcasts here in Wisconsin. His name is Charlie Behrens. He has the Charlie Behrens Manitowoc Minute. Manitowoc is a city in Wisconsin. And he does not like data centers. So let's check out what Charlie has to say.
Washington, Wisconsin just approved a massive AI data center because apparently the Common Council got blackmailed by a robot. Folks, that's why you only send fish bags. Here is what the data center is going to look like. However, Silicon Valley applauds the decision for building another massive data center anywhere other than Silicon Valley. Folks, Wisconsin's becoming a dumping ground for these AI data centers as these tech douchebags know we got a lot of fresh water in the Great Lakes. For now. But these things have been replacing farms and forests all over Wisconsin. So get ready to say goodbye America's Dairyland and hello America's motherboard. That license plate's gonna suck eggs. Now on the one hand, this data center may destroy the land, take water from farmers, pollute the Great Lakes, pleasure the devil, lower property values because of light and sound pollution, also lower the aquifers, screw up your water pressure, increase power bills, force neighboring towns to put up power lines they don't want, shout out West Bend, create very few jobs that will quickly be replaced by robots, and did I mention pleasure the devil? But on the other hand, without these data centers, AI wouldn't be able to take our jobs or end all of humanity. So, it's a balancing act here, folks. You got to take the bad with the terrible. And we're not doing it for us. No, this is America. It is our civic duty to make sure the billionaires become trillionaires with no expense spared. Especially our own. Now, look, folks, I don't live in Port Washington, all right? I live a walleye's whiz away. But I can tell you this much. I watched the Common Council meeting, and I saw each and every one of you get up there and say you didn't want this data center. And then what did the Common Council do? They said, yeah, we hear you. Well, that's got to be a no-go. This isn't the federal government, okay? It's supposed to work. Here in Wisconsin, we care about people, and we care about walleyes and ducks. We don't give a loon's toot about Silicon Valley. I don't know what's going on with your Common Council, Port Washington. Maybe they're drinking the water coming out of a data center. It's not too late, though. Port Washington, don't give up the fight. And everyone else, make sure your Common Council ain't pulling the same crap. I don't want Wall-E. I want walleye. And I think you do, too. Well, folks, that is your Manitowoc Minute special report. As always, go Packers and the Bears.
There you go. Charlie Behrens. His commentary, the Charlie Behrens Manitowoc Minute. Talking about data centers, not popular in Wisconsin. We're finding out there are a lot of secret contracts going in, and we're finding out later on that it's not to the benefit of the local communities around these data centers. We'll keep following the story here in Wisconsin, just like it's going on all over the country. Now, on the radio show a while back, before we were released because we made too much money, kidding, I used to call something called a web wisdom. And these were comments that were made on the internet, on social media, and I thought were brilliant, things that should be repeated. People should hear them, so I would play them. I have a web minute here for you. And all I have to do is produce my own show as we go along here. But this is something that I think you're going to like. It's a good list of things that were lines in the sand, supposedly, for a lot of people. They object and say, well, you could go too far. Well, apparently for megas, there is no too far. So why don't we check this out? This is a web wisdom, I like to call it, and you can check it out for yourself. This is an audio.
Your line in the sand is gas prices. It's not, I don't know, the Epstein files. It's not intentionally bombing a school for little girls. It's not building a place and then naming it Alligator Alcatraz. It's not masked federal agents shooting people in the streets, racially profiling people, shipping them to CCOT without due process, kidnapping children and shipping them God only knows where. It's not the blatant market manipulation, the cryptocurrency pump and dump schemes, the accepting bribes from foreign countries in the form of entire fucking jets. It's not unilaterally starting wars with Venezuela and Iran and Cuba. It's not threatening Greenland and threatening Canada and threatening goddamn near every constitutional amendment we have, the first, the second, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth. It's not sending billions of dollars to countries like Argentina and Israel while sending you absolutely nothing. It's not depicting the Obamas as monkeys. It's not setting records for things like biggest budget deficit, longest government shutdown in history. It's not blaming Tylenol for autism or leaking war plans to journalists. It's not increasing the price of everything you buy due to tariffs while also raising your taxes and lowering them for corporations and the 1%. None of that moved the fucking needle for you, but having to pay more to put gasoline in your shitbox 2007 Ram 1500 ST, well, that's a bridge too fucking far. I will never forget what an unmitigated piece of shit you are.
All right. There you go. A little web wisdom. I think everything he said was absolutely right on. And, you know, you got to like people like that tell it like it is. Now, I want to get to something that came out yesterday. You remember that Trump spent some time nationwide speaking to Americans. And what he had to say was incredibly revealing, simply because we kind of got this feeling from the Republican Party all along for at least maybe a couple of decades, but finally they're coming right out and saying it now, that they're not going to really pay for anything for us. We send the tax dollars in, they don't spend it on us. And I know that they work for us, right? They're the people that represent us, but they're not really doing anything for us. And Trump has basically laid that line in the sand. And I think, you know, we're going to have to start maybe protesting a little bit more. I don't know. But here is something I have to play for you. This is Donald Trump coming right out and saying that he's not paying for anything except for the military. So why don't we check this out here? This is Donald Trump.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare.
We pay taxes.
You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection.
There it is, military protection. That's what they want to pay for. Came right out and said it. What the hell, right? All right, so then this thing happened. This is truly amazing, where he was talking about Jesus and ballrooms. Brought the two together, and I think this speaks for itself.
On Palm Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem as crowds welcomed him with praise, honoring him as king. They call me king now. Do you believe it? No king. I'm such a king, I can't get a ballroom approved. Pretty amazing, right? I'm a king. If I was a king, we'd be doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot, but I could be doing a lot more if I was a king.
Boy, no one likes him. Really, how could you like a guy like that? All right, so hey, a little update on that ballroom, okay? Judge Richard Leon said in a decision against that ballroom, the President of the United States is a steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner. He denied Trump's assertion he's paying for the new construction with private funds. Judge Leon agreed with the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the United States that likely no statute comes close to giving the president the authority he claims to have. As such, I must therefore grant the motion for preliminary injunction, and the ballroom construction project must stop until Congress authorizes the completion. Now, that's going to get kind of sticky because, again, there's a lot of private funding in this, and these are payoffs by special interests that Trump will be helping in the not too distant future or is already helping them. So we'll see what happens with Congress on this thing. Will they help pay for the ballroom? Will they okay it? Will they get the construction back on, even though Trump has basically said he's not going to stop the construction? But he has to, right? All right. Now, we were debating yesterday about birthright citizenship, and we heard some of the comments from the justices and from the special counsel for the president and all the arguments, and it looked pretty bad for Trump in this regard because they didn't sound like they were on board with doing away with birthright citizenship. So let's listen now. Sherilyn Ifill appeared on Chris Hayes' program the other night, and she had a few really, really great comments about birthright citizenship. And I thought that maybe you could also learn from this. She's great. She's a constitutional lawyer. Let's check out with what Glenn Ifill said about this. And this is an audio cut because I don't want to get into a dispute over copyright with MS Now. Okay, so here's Sherilyn Ifill, and listen to what she had to say.
More, Chris, I've been saying that this case is not only about democracy, it's not only about citizenship, it is about our national identity. You know, the very idea of America, and America is an idea as much as it is a place, is that it is, you know, this place where people get to start over. Those who came from Europe, the so-called old countries, you know, felt that they were constrained by, you know, who their parents were and what class system they fell into. The point of coming to America is that, as my dear friend Martha Jones, the historian, says, that individuals are not burdened by the limitations and the disabilities of their parents. And so even if you came to, you know, let's say Ellis Island, and you know, the baby was born the next day, it didn't matter who their parents were, what the class of their parents were, they were a citizen. And of course, for black people, like I heard them keep saying that, you know, this is about newly freed slaves and their children. It was about black people, because the Dred Scott decision had said that black people were not only not citizens, but could not be citizens. And so it swept in not only enslaved people, but also black people who were free. Right. And so it's important to understand that scope of what they were trying to correct. And of course, as you know, Chris, in the legislative history, there were explicit conversations that raised many of the same kind of invasion ideas that we hear now about immigration from Latin America that were being raised about the Chinese. There were members of Congress saying we're going to be overrun in California by this group that cannot assimilate, that is not part of us, that doesn't share our values. And those voices were overcome by the other voices in Congress who said, but the children of those individuals, the American-born children, will be citizens. And that was the context in which the 14th Amendment was ratified.
All right, Sherilyn Ifill, what a treat to get to have you today.
Now, that was a great comment, something you didn't really think about. It's for black people at the time, even in states where they were free. Great comment. But here's another. This is also really, really revealing as well, where she is talking about the reason why birthright citizenship is a constitutional amendment. All right. This is This is great stuff.
to
Listen.
carve out, I think, which is that, the belief that potentially Congress has some play here, that Congress could actually restrict birthright citizenship. When in fact, as was stated in the argument and by Cecilia Wang, the lawyer for the ACLU, who argued the case masterfully, I might add, the point of the birthright citizenship clause was absolutely to ensure that successive Congresses could not actually change or diminish birthright citizenship and create a caste system of citizenship, which is, of course, how we ended up at the Civil War after the Dred Scott decision. So, but Kavanaugh seemed kind of enamored of the idea that Congress might have some power or some play here. And I know there are those who say, well, our Congress is hopelessly deadlocked. But, always count on Kavanaugh for the kind of political reading that somehow might unhandcuff a Republican majority. And so I think part of why he was saying, can we keep it really brief and really thin, was in some ways to leave that pathway open.
And there you go. Shirley Eiffel explaining why it is an amendment to the Constitution and not just something determined by Congress and any Congress that is coming up in the future. They can't mess with this. And we'll see how the Supreme Court decides on it. But it looks like they're really not in favor of doing away with this. So I hope, keep our fingers crossed. You never know what they're going to do. They're always kind of a surprise. They do these things to surprise us, I think. All right, now I want to get to something from Great Britain. We had a feature yesterday on it. These guys really know how to tell the truth. And this is from LBC News, that stands for Leading Britain's Conversation News, and the host is James O'Brien. He isn't sure that Trump's latest alter ego exactly the right fit when it comes to Jesus and Trump. So why don't we get to what he has to say about this? This is fantastic stuff.
If you think that I'm exaggerating about white Christian nationalists and the stranglehold they hold on Donald Trump and just how mad they all are, have a little listen to what happened in the Oval Office yesterday.
You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him. And it didn't end there for you.
Whoa! She went there. Trump as Jesus. In the public meeting, in front of the world's television cameras, surrounded by people nodding and stroking their chins. Donald Trump, self-confessed sex offender, serial criminal, multiple felon, massive liar, destroyer of democracy, hater of truth, contemptor, I've just invented a word, but I like it, of decency. He is being compared to Jesus. Try to remember where it was in the Bible that Jesus sued a woman who accused him of rape and then lost. Is it in Acts of the Apostles?
I'm going to have to look for that. Maybe it is. Who knows? So there you go. That was an interesting thing. We played a cut from that little speech earlier. I want to get to maybe a few multiple cuts that Trump said recently, and I think maybe, let's see here. I think we can come up with this one. This is Trump wanting to tell people that, or tell people how great he is. All right? So this is Trump telling everybody just how great he is.
Tonight I'm making a little speech at 9 o'clock, and basically I'm going to tell everybody how great I am.
Okay. All right. He does have an ego problem. This is a malignant narcissist after all, and we know that he has a mental condition of some sort. No one wants to call him out on it, but I have called him out on it. I think there's something desperately wrong with him. It's called malignant narcissism in general. It's not a clinical term, I understand, but it certainly brings in all the problems that you could have with a person who has a mental difficulty of some sort. Can't put my finger on it, but I know that he has that. And I think we all kind of feel that. Now, I want to get to another cut here. This is Trump taking a shot at Caroline Leavitt. Now, Caroline Leavitt is always lying, and she makes it sound like the truth so well that the megas are just licking and sopping the stuff up. So let's get to Caroline Leavitt probably having to put up with this comment from Trump. You know, he's trying to soften it a little bit after he makes the comment, but you know what he's thinking. If he isn't popular in the public eye, there's got to be a reason for it. Maybe it's the messenger. Well, let's check that out.
Washington Post is almost extinct. The papers that are being dishonest, papers generally, people don't believe the media. And to finish, I got 93% bad publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say 97, but between 93 and 97.
God.
A person that gets 97% of bad stories, maybe Caroline's doing a poor job. I don't know. She's my representative. You're doing a terrible job.
See?
Should we keep her? I think we'll keep her. But I get 93 to 97% bad press, fake press, all fake. I won in a landslide. When you get 93 to 97 bad stories, bad press, and you win in a landslide, you know what that says? People don't believe the press. And when people don't believe the press, that's a very bad thing for our country.
Well, I wonder who was responsible for people not believing the fake news press. I wonder who started that. All right, let's get to another one here. This is Trump kicking around the idea of regime change. Now, I want you to try to make some sense out of this because I can't, but it is kind of convoluted and entertaining all at the same time. So let's check out his comment.
Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred. But we also won regime change. I spoke with we have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime. But the Washington Post said, what do you mean you have regime change? You didn't have regime change. I said, no. We took out the first regime, 100%. That was Khomeini. Again, we have had regime change. So I never say I wanted it. So I never talked about regime change, but we got it. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Wow. So now, when you think about it, that's quite the warning right there. You know, bombs will be dropping, but it'll be wide open for you to take over the government if that's what you choose to do. Truly an amazing thing. And regime change, well, we didn't want regime change, but it happened anyway, and now we have it. So celebrate. I'm John Peterson. This is John's Media World Extra. That's all we have today. We'll have a lot more tomorrow. I do believe we'll be talking about AI, and there is an interesting case that we'll be featuring tomorrow of a musician whose material was stolen. And they found a way to steal people's material via AI. All you have to do is create a chain of command. Well, we'll get to that tomorrow. Thanks again for joining me. Have a good one.